Section 230 in a bid, they say, to protect free speech online. My guest tonight suggests it might do the opposite. Rob Winteron, a tech policy fellow at Young Voices, up late and live with me on the Final Five. Rob, good to see you again.
Good evening, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Section 230 has been trending the last couple of days. It's picked up some steam. It seems like something deep in the weeds, but it's certainly something that people should pay attention to. What is it, and what's at stake here?
So Section 230, in short, is basically a law that allows social media sites and also other sites where users like you and I can go on and post wherever we want. That Section 230 allows those sites to exist by ensuring that the websites that host that content aren't going to be held liable for it if I or you were to break the law using them.
We know that Facebook has been under a lot of pressure for things that are posted. I think really the big outcry came a couple of weeks ago when Twitter started taking upon itself to slap warning labels on tweets, some coming from the president, and that really got some people fired up because the question was, is it on Twitter to moderate what's on their platform? A lot of people were saying this is a free speech issue, which, is an easy way to describe it, but it's much more complex than just slapping the First Amendment on it and calling it a day.
Yeah, I mean, they may use the phrase free speech, and in that sense, they're right. This is a free speech issue, but I think they have it the wrong way around. The First Amendment that you brought up protects American citizens from government overreach. Private platforms and websites are allowed to host content in any way that they find right. That means that if Twitter is hosting content for free, remember, when you and I sign up to use Twitter, we're not paying to do that. They're going to host our content for free. Then I think they have the right to decide how that content's portrayed, especially with so much pressure put on them in the modern age to ensure that they're spreading and hosting accurate and appropriate information. Remember, since 2016, there's been a huge amount of pressure on these companies, and they're doing their best to try and assist to these sort of concerns about misinformation. So when we see our politicians pushing on them to say, well, I don't want you regulating me, then that really becomes a conversation about, well, should the political discourse be regulated by government online, or should it be regulated by the platforms?
I think the best analogy I've given when I've had conversations about this is you're really, when you sign up for these sites, you're basically playing in their sandbox. And they can decide, they can lay down the rules whether we like it or not. I think you would like the ability to go out there and say what you'd like in the public sphere. But as we've learned from the DOJ, from Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, who's one of the ones pushing this, they would like to see the dynamic changed a little bit. And again, these are private companies. It's not like, a TV station which uses public airwaves. These are private companies which are using private utility providers here.
Absolutely. I mean, the way I put it, Jim, and I like the way you put it too, is there's really two options here. On the one side, either Twitter, and it can decide what goes on Twitter, and Facebook decides what goes on Facebook, or you have the government deciding what's allowed on Twitter and the government deciding what's allowed on Facebook. And we have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights for a reason. It's because, when government does get involved in regulating speech and deciding the realms of what political stuff people are allowed to discuss, that gets pretty dangerous pretty fast. So I think it's much safer to have online free speech in the power of consumers who can choose what platform they want to use and where to have their political discussions, rather than government, which has if we're given the keys to be able to do so, could really do some damage to our ability to criticize political positions.
Well, we've seen some specialty platforms popping up over time. We're going to keep our eyes on this. And Rob, I want to have you back sometime very soon. Great to see you again, my friend.
Of course. Great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for literally staying up late, too. Rob Winteron, we're back after this on the Final Five.